Hey guys, I've been asked to do a rig tour. And instead of doing your traditional rig tour, here's everything and walking around the truck, I'm going to kind of go into great detail on 2 or 3 items at a time and make this a 2 or 3 part series, because there's a little more to it than just grazing by and looking at the tools for you young guys that are just getting in, and even you older guys that are wanting to weld pipe and, you know, make bigger money. And I thought I would start right here, because this little area right here is where we do most of our work. I say most of it. When we get on a job, usually there's lots of rollouts to do, fittings to fittings, small stuff that you can prefab because you know about what you're going to do. So my rollout wheel goes in the vise. It's really simple. I'm going to do a whole video on a rollout wheel, and it's going to be funny. But I'm not doing that today. Today, I'm going to cover how I like to keep my tools, because there's no sense in getting all this stuff out every day. If you know you're going to use it tomorrow, it might as well be right here, you know, on a magnet. Your hammer is right here on a magnet. So, you know, it's there and ready to go. I've got 3, 4 to 6 spacer, a 2-inch spacer, a wedge. Now these wedges, I've never been able to buy a good wedge. I don't know why. They're brittle and they break. This is a leaf spring off of, I don't know if it's a golf cart or a foiler or whatever, but it doesn't matter. What matters is you can make your own, and they're the best. So just remember that. You can take your Metabo and cut it as thin as possible, and then grind it with, I'd say a flapper wheel, probably, a tiger paw, and get it just right. And my hammer broke, I think, and I welded it on that. I'm not sure why, but I like it and it works good. Your stencil, when you start welding for these guys, they're going to want you to stencil every weld. The gas company I'm with right now wants me to write it on there, and the other gas company wanted me to do a hard stencil. So that's right there. My TIG gap, 1/8 welding rod. It's real simple. It's 1/8. I use a 332 TIG wire because I can scoot the gap that much closer. I don't mind feeding the wire. It's less to weld. Anything you can do to make it less, you know, so weld small. Think weld small on everything. You'll use less rods, and you'll be faster, and you'll be done before everybody else, and you don't have to work as hard. It's the main thing. You can get more done if you're not tired every day. Okay, we've already covered the ammo can. I'll give you one more little homemade tool that I really like, and then I'm going to do a US made tool that I bought that I really enjoy and like. But this is a magnet sandwiched between 2 pieces of 1/4-inch plate with a little adjustment screw, and I know a lot of you pipeliners already know what this is. It's called a grasshopper, and usually they got legs, and you know, you put it on the pipe and it's got a little beak on it. Well, I had one of those, had several of them, and what would happen on this little pipe we weld all the time, it would always fall off. If something happened and the pipe rolled a little bit, it would slide around, and you're likely to get arc burns and stuff like that. So I put this magnet, it's a tank magnet, it's a big fat tank magnet, in between here and sandwiched it, and it was really hard to weld after I put that magnet in there, but it's good enough. And it'll stick on about anything, and you can run this down to your weld and you're good. I just realized when I was editing this video, you still don't know what a grasshopper is. You big dummy! Or what it's used for. So I'll put a picture of one up here if I can find one. There's nowhere to put your ground on a round piece of pipe, and they won't let you hook it on the end. You know, you have to be grounded off on top of that last weld that was just made. So that's why I use a grasshopper. It's a place to put your ground. So that's what that is, in case you wanted to know. Now, we'll get in my box a little bit, not all the way. And I'm gonna start, there's all kind of little tools in here. I'll show you how to make one of these. You're gonna have to have one. But that's a later video. I'm gonna talk about these today, because when I went to my very first, I would say, ironworker welder, when there was nothing to weld, I was, you know, tightening bolts. You just gotta do whatever you gotta do. If you think you're gonna show up and just be a welder and that's it, you need to think again. You're gonna have to fight, scratch, and claw to get to where I'm at, and us other guys, you know, people that have their own rig, and they've been around the block. They know what's going on, and you're not going to get that status until you've paid your dues a little bit. And this is where I started paying my dues, because if you've ever welded galvanized handrails, it was awful. I had galvan poisoning and all that stuff, but I'm digressing. All right. When I started out, they said you got to have ironworker tools to be an ironworker welder. I was like, man, okay, whatever. You need a 3/4 spud wrench. I said, all right, I can buy that. So I went to the tool room and I said, I need a 3/4 spud wrench. Now, keep in mind, I'm 19 years old. And the guy said, I'm gonna tell you something. He said, if you buy this, this is only gonna fit a 3/4. And you might not be an ironworker your whole life. And I thought, yeah, that's a good point. You should buy this, an adjustable spud wrench. And I thought, man, it was more expensive. And back then, I think it was like 40 bucks or something. They're way more now, but everything is. What's not more expensive? And I opted to get this because it was cheaper. It's one of the many lessons I've learned like that. So, sure enough, I never use this unless I'm lining something up, which I've got this to do that work. Now, this is a Klein, made in the USA. They make awesome, awesome tools. I love Klein tools, but any type. This is also a Klein. Later in my career, I bought adjustable spud wrenches. And I want to tell you, this thing, you can line holes up. I really like it for picking pipe up. You say, how do you pick pipe up with it? I'll show you that in just a second. And the jaws get wide enough to fit those big bolts we use in our flanges, most of them. So if you're going to get a tool and that you're going to use for the rest of your life, opt for the adjustable Klein spud wrench. I go out of my way to find it because inevitably I'm going to have to use this end and then use this end. And there's other uses for it, and I'm about to get into that right now. So let's go to the scrap pile. All right, welcome to the Taylor Welding Home Depot. This is my scrap pile, and there's everything you can think of out here because I'm always needing a small piece of something. But a lot of people don't use these like I use them. So when we're at work and there's pipe in the pipe rack, and I just walked up to this pile of junk, and you got to get you, this will be a 40-foot piece of pipe, and you got to get your choker in between there. You can jam this and really and open it up. And my favorite way to use this thing is for picking up pipe with flanges on it, because you got to get down there and stick your hand. Sometimes there's grease and stuff in this flange. You can just jam your spud wrench in there and run off with it. Okay. So these, without a doubt, will save you some trouble and you'll have it forever. But here's one tip. If you catch your helper using it like a hammer, you can beat him with the other end as well. So guys, y'all have an awesome, awesome day. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And if you got any gripes and complaints, write them down, roll them up, and stick them. Later.